In today's video, we're going to answer the question, what can we learn from Jimi Hendrix? Hello, David here. Welcome to episode 3 of the What Can We Learn From series, in which we listen to different samples from different artists and we ask ourselves the question, what makes that sample so relatable, and what can I gather from that in my own playing, your own playing? Because really this channel is all about helping you express yourself musically, unlock these concepts on the instrument. And if you want a little bit more help with that, you should check out my free DNA course, which will unlock your fretboard and your understanding of music. It's available for free at guitarinfusion.com. But for now, we're talking about Jimi. Here's our first sample. I know it's not a Jimi song, he didn't write that, Bob Dylan did. This was released in 1968, Electric Ladyland, and the reason I started with that particular sample is that, in my opinion, Jimi is really a rhythm player at his core. Of course, he does leads beautifully, but this really illustrates Jimi's approach to rhythm. It's not just rhythm like playing chords. In this sample right here, we're playing over 3 different chords, D minor chord, C major, and B flat major. Well, really, Jimi tunes a half step below, I should mention that. But these chords are not just played straightforward. Take a listen again to this and some embellishments that we can hear. There's a couple things here. The first one is Jimi loves 9s, and that's actually how, by listening to Jimi, I discovered the beauty of some intervals that add a little bit of color. So here Jimi is playing this D minor chord here. It's part of the bar chord, the full bar chord. We're just playing the first 4 strings of that bar chord. And the pinky can reach that 9th, which is on the 1st string, 12th fret. And we will hear that throughout these chords, the 9th of each of the chords. So we're starting like this. And then we're going to that C, again, the first 4 strings of that bar version of the C major chord, and then we can reach that 9th here again. So that's the first thing to unpack, a lot of 9s. And then the second thing that I wanted to unpack here is on that last chord, pay attention to this. So we have the D minor, C, and flat. What was that at the end? That's very bluesy. That almost doesn't really fit the understanding of music theory, and it really doesn't if you know of theory. It's mixing 2 things that really shouldn't be mixed together. It comes from the blues. Jimi is, of course, a blues player at heart. What's happening here is that we have this B flat major chord, and typically on a major chord you want to associate with a major thing. So a major chord will be major pentatonic, for example, or at least a scale that has that major third. Well, here Jimi is playing something like this, something along those lines, something like that, and that's minor. These notes are part of the minor pentatonic scale in B flat minor pentatonic. So we're blending a B flat minor pentatonic over a major chord. And we'll hear that a lot in Jimi's music, where there's that beautiful blend of 2 different worlds clashing, coming from the blues, and there's some jazz elements in there too as well, and it's just great. Okay, and I hear Dorian too. Now, did Jimi think that it was Dorian? Of course not. Most likely not. Jimi wasn't a theory player. He was very interested in everything music, but I don't think he called it that way. It doesn't matter. That's an important point here. Some players might think that, or I certainly thought that when I was younger, that I had to understand the rules of music in order to make music. You don't, and this is a great example of that. Okay, let's take a look at, listen to the second sample here. Of course I had to play that one. Notice how short that is? A couple reasons. First of all, there's a lot to unpack here, and well, the second reason is that I keep the samples under 4 seconds because I don't want the video to be flagged, because if it is, well, you won't be able to watch it. Anyways, Little Wing, classic song. Who hasn't tried to learn Little Wing here? What can we learn from this section? This section right here works on a G major chord. If I play that G major chord, just a standard open chord, whatever Jimi plays here will work on that. But Jimi's not just playing that cowboy G chord, right? Cowboy as in like the open strings. No, this is what Jimi's playing. Notice the thumb that is wrapped around here. Jimi is a thumb around the neck type of player, and if you look at his videos, his thumb can reach up to the 4th string pretty easily. He does that quite a bit, which kind of helps him avoid the full bar chord, because the problem with bar chords is that they require all fingers, and there are no other fingers that are available. Now, if you replace this bar chord with this, where I have the thumb taking care of that bass here, and then the ring, middle, and then a mini bar here with the index, the pinky is available to do all these different things. And even here, there's a lot of different things you could do that blend the lead playing almost with the rhythm playing. And that'll be recurring through Jimi's playing, through all the songs that he's playing. It's almost like the line is very blurred between rhythm and lead. That's a lesson that actually Jimi taught me, or his music has taught me. When I started playing guitar, I thought that rhythm players were here and lead players were right here. So lead players were way better than rhythm players. Wrong, totally wrong. But that's what I thought in my, adolescent mind at the time. Jimi proved me wrong here, and really, it's all combined. A good lead will only be good because the chords behind it are interesting, and vice versa. And when you can do both together, that's awesome. So how do we incorporate this into our music? Well, I think it really is just an exploration of the fretboard. When I started playing, I remember learning these open chords, and at some point, I was more comfortable with the traditional chords, G major, C, D, E minor, and there's a lot of songs that you can play with those. And I still remember I think I was learning Knocking on Heaven's Door, Guns N' Roses, where you have a G, a D, and a C. But Slash wasn't playing just a straight chords like that. He was embellishing them. Something along those lines. And that opened a new door, which led me to Jimi Hendrix. I know, before you comment below, I know Knocking on Heaven's Door is not a Guns N' Roses song, but that's how I was introduced to that song. And that opened an open door, telling me that open chords, or any chords really, can have different variations. I can add some notes, and it's just exploring those. So on a C major, for example, and I'm talking about the open C major, I can try maybe to lift this middle finger. What would happen if I did that? Oh, that's cool, I like it. I'm gonna put it in my box of yes notes. If I didn't like it, if I tried maybe something like this, I don't like it, that's in the no box. And eventually I have all these possible notes from the yes box that I could use to do all these kind of Hendrixy type of things. And eventually, if you do that with all the different chord shapes that you know, you'll have this vocabulary and possibilities around these shapes that will allow to do all these embellishments that Jimi is so good at. Here's another song. This is my favorite Hendrix song. Take a look at this. I'll take a listen at this, really. I love this. Castles Made of Sand, just the intro. It's beautiful. The tone is awesome. The way that it's played, the rhythm, the embellishments, like this really blurs the line between rhythm and lead. It's such a cool part. Happens on the right side. Your speakers are not broken. Well, if you're listening to a phone, you can't get this. That's because at the time they were really experimenting with this new thing called stereo and recording, and like he's really hard panned right. That's a little tip if you want to learn some of Jimi's material. just listen to just one side and you'll hear all the cool stuff that he's doing. But yeah, Castles Made of Sand is a great example where we're transitioning between, really the line gets blurred between the chords and the rhythm. Again, this section is in G. Now I know my G doesn't sound exactly like Jimmy's G there on the recording. That's because I think there was something weird with the tape at the time. Maybe it'll slow down a little bit. It's not exactly the right tuning, unfortunately. But something like this where he's using this sliding pentatonic, that is used a lot in Jimmy's playing, in Jimmy's world. Instead of playing the traditional pentatonic box, see in that position of the fretboard, we're doing that sliding thing where we have the root, in this case, low E string 3rd fret of the pentatonic scale. The ring is gonna play that major second interval on the 5th fret, and then slide to the 7. So you have 3 notes here. And then the other 2 notes of the pentatonic are right here. Index and ring on the 5th string, frets 5, 7. So we have this going on. Something like that. And then something like that, I think. Something along those lines. I love that song. Okay, let's talk about another aspect of Jimmy's playing. Listen to this. So good, right? Yes, we're really getting into the lead stuff here. Blues, totally blues. But pay attention to the rhythm. There's something very unique, or at least that I think Jimmy started doing at that time and a lot of other players have done since. Pay attention to this. It's not quite on the beat, and this is something that today in modern music we don't hear that much. We don't hear a lot of that stuff. Today everything is quantized, and the tempo played by the drums and the bass is, you know, the absolute truth almost, and we have to play on the beat. Jimmy doesn't do that. He's playing behind the beat. So he's taking this canvas like this the train track. It's still there, but he's going to take his time. So it's kind of like if we have this, if this is our tempo, and I'm going to tell you something very robotic in tempo, I don't know, put the trash out. Put the trash out. Okay, I'll say it with a little more expression. Put the trash out. But it's right there on the tempo. Now if I say it this way, put the trash out. Okay, it's not quite on the tempo. Put the trash out. Same message, but it's got a different, different feel to it. Now that we did this, let's listen to the sample again. Almost like Jimmy is slowing down time. Yeah, life still goes on. The drums and the bass are still going on, but just kind of like take your time. Let's try this over a backing track, just traditional blues, and we'll see how it applies to the instrument. So here's our tempo, our guide. I'm gonna follow the guide very strictly first. Very scholar, not very expressive. Jimmy would take a lot of liberties with the rhythm, playing behind. Saying his phrase, but with a lot of confidence that the message will be carried even if it's not exactly in sync with this. See, I really took my time there. Here's another example where Jimmy really does it brilliantly. Yes, Hey Joe, classic. You really hear it at the end, that slow down. For first he's kind of synced to tempo. That last note comes really later, after the beat. That slow down at the end. So how do you work on this? Well, you just grab a backing track and you start being aware of it. Just be aware that this doesn't have to be followed strictly. You can play around it. And when you have that awareness, things are going to start happening. So that's the best tip I can give you. Just be aware of it and listen to a lot of players who play behind the beat. Satriani is a great example. Obviously, he was inspired by Hendrix so much. You can watch that first episode after this one if you'd like, where we covered Satch's playing behind the beat also. But yeah, that's a great example. All right, let's move on with another aspect of Jimi's playing that I absolutely love. What is that? The Wind Cries Mary, but what was that? That was so powerful. Is that lead? Is that rhythm? It's kind of both. Like we said earlier in the video, Jimi really combines both here. I would call this a lead, a solo section. Why does it work so well? It's so melodic, and that's another thing with Jimi. First of all, I think there's a vocal quality to all his lines. I'm not talking in the tone necessarily, which is a little darker maybe than you might be used to with modern music, but I'm talking about the construction of his leads. They're very vocal-like, so you can sing this almost. At least you remember it very well. Right? Very, very vocal driven. Now, I don't know if Jimi's way of writing is the same as Satriani, where Satch, for his melodic ideas, I'm pretty certain he's using his voice when he wants to come up with a theme. I don't know if Jimi did that. I feel that it's a lot more guitar driven, but it still has those breaths where there's some silences in there. Right? There's a lot of silences in there. It's not this continuous flow of notes which makes the thing that is being played, in this case this lead, melodic idea, a lot more relatable to us. But there's also another thing. Jimi is not just going up and down the scale here. Every phrase follows the chords very well. And it's a lesson we can take from all those kind of like softer ballady type, think Little Wing, Wind Cries Mary, this one right here, Castle Made of Sand, where the chords and all those embellishments are really linked. And this is what's happening in this song. What do we have here are 3 chords, F sharp, E, and B. We really remember we're tuned a half step below, so really all that is raised a half step, but we'll call it F sharp, E, B. And then as far as the lead goes, the first thing we hear on that F sharp is this. That's enough, right? And what is this? I'm going to take this an octave lower for simplicity. This is the top of that F sharp in the bar position. But remember, Jimi will use the thumb so that he can reach. And we heard that kind of thing earlier. Right? That's what's happening here. And then we have the E, and on the E we have this beautiful line. That's enough, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You're hearing da da ba da ba, na 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 na. It works so well, so beautiful. Down, da 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 da. And that's part of that chord too. And then at the end, on that B, we have something like this, which again is very chord driven. It's an inversion of that B chord where we're starting with this note, which is the major third of that B. So it's the first inversion. Now again, did Jimi think along those lines? Did he think, oh, I'm going to use the first inversion here? I doubt it. I think Jimi's approach was very tactile, very much like a kid. And that's something I hear a lot in Jimi Hendrix's music. I hear a kid who got his guitar and started exploring it and not taking this and thinking, I have to understand everything about this. Well, in a way, yes, but I really hear a lot of adventurous, bold discovery of the instrument. It really transcribes in his music, I think. So I just love this. If you want to listen to the whole thing, just listen to the left side. And in that song, Jimi's on the left as far as this lead. So it's a great way to find all those nuances. Okay, next sample. You know that one. And again, you hear that vocal quality, right? Little wing. Da, da, na, 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 na. You can sing that. As a matter of fact, he does here. So what is it? Is it a solo? Is it a vocal line? It's really both. The guitar was Jimi's voice, and that example illustrates it beautifully. It's so melodic. Oftentimes, the simplest things are the most powerful ones. And in order to find something very simple, start with your mouth. Instead of starting with the guitar, just sing something as you're playing chords. And what you come up with is most likely going to be the winning piece. Keep it simple. Along those lines of keeping it simple, keeping it melodic and singable, check this out. You hear the breaths again. Da, na, 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 da, ba, da, ba. Very, very vocal driven. It's so memorable. Foxy Lady, that solo, it's all pentatonic stuff. There's something, you see that approach? That very last note here. It's kind of imperfect, right? And that's another aspect of Jimi's playing that I love so much. Actually, that is kind of the filter for me to get in. Jimi's playing is imperfect. He's not a perfect player in the sense that he will not have everything super locked into the tempo. Some notes are approached a little boldly with almost like a leap of faith, and you hear it in that last note. But that's what makes Jimi perfect, in my opinion. But that's also what almost prevented me to get into his music. Because when I started playing, picked up the guitar, I was 15, and I got into more technical players like Satriani and Steve Vai and those kind of players who really mastered those techniques, and you could tell that they will work on a piece over and over until it's pretty much perfect, and then they will lock in the recording. What am I doing? This is what I'm doing. Sorry. See, the videos are imperfect too, so Jimi would like this maybe. But it's very imperfect here, and I didn't like it at all first because I thought Jimi was a sloppy player, didn't really know how to play. I'm embarrassed to admit it, but then I got it. I understood that Jimi was telling a story, and then I got into the storytelling and the imperfections of the playing, which makes it perfect. I love it. I really love it. All right, one more thing with Jimi's playing. The hooks, whether it's a riff, a solo, a piece of solo like this, but I feel that so far every 4-second samples that we've heard are memorable. They stick into our minds because they're so simple. Here's an example. Check this out. I love this on so many levels, but it's so memorable, right? Iconic. What is this? This is just pentatonic stuff. That's pretty much it with the wah. Simple. Anybody could write this stuff. So simple, right? Just minor pentatonic and E or E flat. That's it. And this is the kind of stuff that a kid picking up the guitar and you show him the minor pentatonic scale, and with a little bit of creativity, he'll come up with something like this. The notes are nothing magical here, but the riff itself is magical. It feels good. It was born, I really think it was born from just Jimi messing around with that pentatonic scale, keeping it simple, and trying to discover the secrets within the magic of these 5 notes that have generated so many iconic riffs. And I feel that today, a lot of musicians maybe forget about this simplicity, the rawness of the 5-note minor pentatonic scale. And I really believe that there are so many more songs and riffs and things to discover with the pentatonic scale. Keep it simple. That's what Jimi did here, and it's so memorable. And then the wah there, I don't know. Maybe you've tried to play this before, but I was never able to get the feel of the wah. Not that Jimi wrote this thinking, okay, on this note I'm going to put the wah here, on this one here. No, it's a felt thing, but I was never able to really feel that with my foot. to get that expression that he gets with that wah. It's so awesome. I feel that the wah work is perfect. It emphasizes those notes perfectly. Okay, another iconic one, this one. So simple. The notes here are a little more sophisticated than the minor pentatonic scale. We're adding one note, the blue note. So we have the minor pentatonic here. I'm playing on the 11th fret here because of tuning issues again. I think he was probably playing in standard on this one. I'm not sure, but starting on the 11th fret here, we've got the 5-note pentatonic scale, frets 11, 14. On the next string, we have 11, 13, and then next string 11 for those 5 notes. And then we're adding a note between this 5th string 11th fret and 5th string 13th fret. We're adding this one right here. So the whole riff is based on these 6 notes. So really we're starting with that blue note, which is tensed, and then the pentatonic scale. Something like that, right? Except that instead of playing it here, which is kind of awkward, we're playing it here. Same exact pitches. And then we're doubling this, the blue note, with an octave higher. So we're skipping a string, and then 2 frets higher. So simple, but he's the one who did it. And he has tons of those like that. Last sample is another classic. Check this out. This is a little strange for Jimi, but it's, again, very simple, but a little more sophisticated as far as the notes go. It's not just pure minor pentatonic scale. And the fact that the bass just stays constant, ba, 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 that bass is going to attract all the notes that Jimi is playing here. And some of these notes are, again, they're not just pure minor pentatonic, which means that attraction of the notes that Jimi is playing with the bass creates this color, this feeling. You can analyze this and call it what it is, a particular scale. Jimi didn't do that. He went with the feel of things. But if I just played that alone without the bass, there's a lot of things that could go on in the back. For example, this. But that's not what's happening. This is what's going on. Very different color, a little more tensed, and that creates a modal color. Did Jimi think in terms of modes? I don't think so. I don't think he'd be against it, but I think he just realized that a note by itself has the potential to become 12 different things depending on what it is played against. This note, for example, just a pitch, just a sound. Now, if I play this in relation to this, for example, it becomes something. If I play it in relation to something else, becomes something else, and so forth. And understanding what a particular note will become depending on what's in the back, I think is key to creating something that, a musical piece that really tells a story. And Jimi was a master at that. He didn't necessarily call them by names, but that's what's happening here, I think, in that intro of Purple Haze. Now, if you want to master this interaction of notes, you should check out my free course at guitarinfusion.com. It's easy, it's simple, it's not the hardcore theory that you would learn in college, although the results are going to be the same. It's very simple, very organic, just like Jimi Hendrix would be a kid on the guitar exploring things. You're going to be a kid exploring theory things on what I'm going to show you. It's completely free, guitarinfusion.com. Be on the lookout for the next episode of What Can We Learn From? And make sure you check out the first 2 episodes covering Joe Satriani and Andy Timmons. And you can watch those videos by clicking right here. I'll meet you right there. Thanks so much for watching this. Let me know below if you have any suggestions as to who we should cover, who we should learn from. I'll meet you right there. Thanks for watching this.